Hey YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Sean Austin here again from Sean's Rabbitry and Aquaponic Produce, and we're back with another rabbit farming video for you guys. But we're going to be touching on a topic. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing a few videos in series touching on this topic, because if we try to cover everything in one video, it's just going to be way too long. Today we're going to be talking a bit about some of the mistakes that people make when they're just starting out in rabbit farming. So we want to help you to avoid some of those so you can save some time and money. So if that interests you, stay tuned guys, and we'll be back with more right after the intro. Okay guys, we're back. And today we're talking about some of the mistakes that people make when they're just starting out rearing rabbits. So we need to look at some of the things that you have to do, and more or less the better way. I won't say the right way because it's going to vary from area to area, but some of the better ways depending on your climate and things like that. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is your hutch design. Now, if you're into commercial production like we are, as you see these cages behind me here, we have all wire cages that are on a stand that's under an entire shed. So we don't have to really worry about the roofing too much on our hutch because it's a shed. But even in a situation like this, you want to keep your roof as high as possible, right? Because you want to keep most of that heat that radiates from those roofing sheets down onto your rabbits. So you want to be able to keep them as high as possible. Another thing, of course, is orientation. People need to set their pens. Well, if you're here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's east-west, so that you get two benefits there. You're facing the natural direction of the breeze, so you get better ventilation. Of course, if it's too strong of a wind, you can put some type of barrier there to break the wind a bit. The other benefit, of course, is that if you orient your shed east-west, that's also the direction that the sun rises and sets here. So for the bigger portion of the day, direct sunlight won't be entering your pen. You'll get some sun in the morning, but the morning sun always tends to be a bit cooler, until it reaches above head, when they will be protected by the roofing sheets from that direct sunlight. Especially your bucks, you want to keep them out of the sunlight as much as possible. But if you're on a small scale and you're building a hutch, most people, at least what I've seen on YouTube and other places, people tend to veer towards using lumber. Personally, I think you should avoid wood as much as possible. Firstly, if your rabbits have any direct access to the wood, they're gonna chew and gnaw on that wood, and they're gonna eat a hole there eventually, and you're gonna have to keep doing repairs on your pen. The other thing is that wood is a bit porous and it tends to harbor bacteria and things like that, so it's not very easy to sanitize a wooden hutch. So that's something to consider. Now we'll talk a bit more about sanitation and things like that as we go further down into the series, but today we're looking at mainly the design of your hutch. Like I said, if at all possible, avoid using wood. If you don't have a choice or you insist on using wood, then at the very least make as many of the walls as possible out of wire to allow for proper ventilation. Now, proper ventilation will also lend to sanitation, which we'll cover further down. But the main thing in a lot of places, and especially here in the Caribbean, is heat. Right? I visited a rabbit farmer recently who was just starting out, and he built his hutch out of the galvanized roofing sheets that we use on our shed. So he literally built an oven for his rabbits. The only thing that were missing were probably some potatoes and carrots and he could have had a good meal. Okay, so that is one thing you want to avoid as much as possible. Heat stresses out your rabbits. They won't grow properly, they won't perform properly, and you're going to experience high instances of sterility. So you want to watch that. Now, where hutch design is concerned, one of the things that I've seen a lot, a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they make their cages too large. Now, I know there are different schools of thought on this. A lot of people feel that your cage should be as big as possible because you want your rabbits to be able to run around and have exercise and all of that, and that's fine, okay? But if you're gonna build a big cage, lean towards having a long cage rather than a deep cage, because the problem most people have, and they realize it too late, is that in a case where you're trying to hold that rabbit or take the rabbit out of the cage, you can't reach the back of the cage. So then you find yourself now having to stand on something to literally reach your whole body into the cage to try and hold the rabbits. So if you're building a cage and you want a big cage, go for a longer cage that has multiple doors rather than a deep cage with one door, because then you're going to always run into that problem. As a matter of fact, if you're building your hutch, on average, your cage shouldn't be deeper than your arm's length, because you want to be able to reach easily to the back of the cage, not just to hold the rabbits, but also to clean the cage and do other things like that. So keep away from those extra large. I see people build cages that are 3 and 4 feet in depth. There's no way you could ever reach the back of that cage to hold a rabbit if you needed to. Even if it was sick or if it died in the cage, you'd be hard pressed to remove it from the cage because you won't be able to easily reach it. So that is a common mistake a lot of people make, and it's very easy to make because a lot of times you don't think about it. Something people also don't think about when designing their hutch is the size of their door. So sometimes you build your hutch with a door and then you build a nest box and the nest box can't fit into the cage. So, and it might sound silly, but it has happened to so many people. That's why I'm mentioning it, because I know it's something that people overlook from time to time. So you also have to take that into consideration. Now, since we're on hutch design, more than likely you're going to be using a wire floor for your hutch, which we always recommend because it's a lot cleaner, it's easier to sanitize. The rabbits don't come into contact constantly with their own urine and feces. So definitely we recommend wire floors. A lot of people have problems with wire flooring. I don't know why. People keep saying things like wire floors, your rabbits will get sore hocks and it's not easy for their feet and all of that. And there's probably 10% truth to that. Yes, sometimes your rabbit do get sore hocks, but something you have to keep in mind is that sore hocks is a genetic thing. If your rabbits have sore hocks, then it means that your rabbits have inadequate padding on the soles of their feet. The fur at the sole of their feet is inadequate, and that's a genetic trait. So that's something that you could over time eliminate from your herd by choosing ones with the better padding. Additionally, something that people overlook a lot, which sometimes leads to that, is the orientation of the wire that you use for your flooring. Let me give you an example. Now, first of all, the wire that you use for your flooring should have a wide enough spacing to allow for their waste to fall through, but close enough that they can comfortably stand on it. Now, this is 1 inch by ½ inch, and it's a very thick wire. I think this is 16 gauge wire. Thinner wire tends to bow a bit and it doesn't support the rabbit properly. So if you're looking at cutting cost, at the very least, buy good wire for your flooring. You need that because that's what takes all the weight and supports the rabbit. Now we also have this example here. This is 1/2 inch by 2 inch. You can see the difference there. One is 1/2 inch by 1 and 1/2 inch by 2. Either one will work just fine, but something you really need to pay attention to. Let me show you this. Now let me show you what I mean. If you're looking at this piece of wire as your flooring, depending on the direction, which side up you use, you will be setting a different spacing for your rabbit's foot to set on. So this way, if you look at it, the wire is welded this way and this way. But on this side, the 1/2 inch spacing is on top. So you get a lot firmer support here from the rabbit's foot. If you turn the wire over, the wire that's on top are these that run lengthways, and these are 2 inches apart. So then you have something of an uneven footing for the rabbit to rest on this way. Right? I don't know if you all understand that. You have to pay attention to the direction that the welded beads run, and always face the wire on the side where the spacing is closer. Like on this one, the 1/2 inch the ones that run across to make the 1/2 inch space are the ones that are on top. So either way, the rabbit has a much more firm footing. And that's just something to look at. I hope you understand that. If you don't, let me know in the comments. I'll try and post some close-up pictures so you can have a better idea of what we're talking about. So all in all, we would have covered the basic ideas you need to consider when designing your hutch, and all of that is geared towards preventing heat stress, proper sanitation, ease of use and comfort for you as the person who is seeing about the rabbits. And of course, we would have touched on wire. But since we're talking about wire, let's just expand on that a bit. If you're deciding to build all wire cages, or even if you're using a hutch that's part wood and part wire, still please invest in good wire. Good, strong, firm wire. Apart from just your flooring, you want a wire that's gonna last you some time. It makes no sense buying a cheap wire and inside of 6 months you're buying wire again, and then the next 3 to 4 months you're buying wire again. You're going to be spending so much time and money just maintaining your cages that it's going to frustrate you, and more than likely you're going to come out of rabbit farming. I've seen that happen a lot because persons try to do this by the shortcut method, and there's a saying in Trinidad, shortcut does make long cut. So eventually you're going to end up spending the money that you're trying to avoid spending in the first place. So just be sensible about it. Invest your money. If you decide this is something you're going into, then invest your money and buy proper wire. Since we're on wire, another thing to consider, another good tangible reason to buy good wire, because I've seen this happen a lot here in Trinidad. I've heard numerous reports of persons who have started rearing rabbits only to have them killed by their neighbors' dogs. And more than likely, I'm willing to bet in every one of those instances, you would have used a cheap wire. Because there's no way a dog could destroy this 16 gauge wire. No way. Since we've been using this wire to build our cages, we've never had an incident of a dog attack. There have always been dogs around. Dogs have gotten into the rabbitry a couple times, but we've never lost a rabbit to a dog attack because there's no way they could destroy this wire to get at our rabbits. But you see that cheap wire that I think in the US and other places they refer to it as hardware cloth. And here I think we call it normal mesh wire, but it's a really thin gauge. You're setting yourself up for some serious disappointment with those cheap wires. So guys, invest in good material and better your chances for having a successful operation. So I'm going to leave it there for today because we have a lot to do on this common mistakes that people make, and I can't cover them all in one video, so I'm going to hit you short videos every week, probably twice a week, till we get done and we cover all. If there's any specific topic that you guys want me to touch on, please leave a comment below and let me know, and we'll cover that during this series as well. So guys, again, thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you guys in our next video. Don't forget, this coming Wednesday, look out for a brand new aquaponics video as well. We'll be coming at you with that this Wednesday fresh. So until then, Sean Austin, I'm Sean's Rabbitry and Aquaponic Produce. On behalf of my business partner, Sean McLean, signing out. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.